I always tell people law chose me.
Okay.
Literally, my interests were journalism. Like I said, I loved writing. So when when I moved up to Joburg, I had initially got into a firm that did litigation and just a bit of conveyancing. I knew within the first 6 months, litigation is not for me right
Okay.
now. I think I remember drafting that legal opinion and sending it to my senior, and she doesn't respond. So in my head, I'm thinking,
You're like, yo,
yeah.
what have you
They're
done?
probably thinking she should have stayed in conveyancing at this point, because I'm just like, okay, what happens now?
Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Conversation. I'm your host, Nqobile Mbatha. I'm an attorney and the founder of a platform called Sister in Law, which is a platform dedicated to empowering women through legal education. It's no mistake that you've stumbled across this episode. If you're here and you haven't already subscribed, now is the perfect time for you to subscribe. Don't forget to also share the episode with all your loved ones. On today's episode, I'm joined by Nqobile Mbatha, who is an attorney and also owns a creative agency aimed at helping with personal branding. Nqobile, welcome to the show. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Tubelo.
Thank you for honoring the invitation. You look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you. We're twinsies at this point.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. You got the unofficial memo. Nqobile, so on this show, we always start with, who are you? The popular interview question, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who's Nqobile? Where were you born and raised? How many siblings do you have? What was your childhood like? Primary school, high school? Tell us a little bit more so we can get to know who we're dealing with.
Okay, so Nqobile Mbatha is basically a young girl from Durban in KZN. I went to high school and primary in Hillgrove. I come from a two-parent household, the strictest parents on earth, which kind of makes sense why I am the way I am. But I think the biggest thing that kind of shaped who I became was the loss of my mother in 2014. I feel like I cruised through life because, when your parents have you, they kind of shelter you from certain things. I have a younger brother as well. So when the real life event kind of happened, it kind of forced me to grow up, right? At this point now, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm 16. I just lost my mother. I need to teach myself things now. I actually have to go out into the real world and become Nqobile. With the support of my father, obviously, it made things a lot easier. Obviously, when you're daddy's girl, you literally kind of get everything.
Yeah,
which
princess.
makes life a lot. You're literally the princess, Don't tell my brother, but but yeah, he kind of also shaped who I became because he had to now assume the role of mom and dad. In his strictness, he taught me discipline.
Yeah.
Most importantly, and financial literacy. So
love that.
I basically started working I think when I was 16 at Edgar's. I would literally just, whatever I can, because
I'm
they're
also a retail girly.
You understand, and besides, I loved engaging with people, so I was just like, let's do it. Let's see what I can do. All the way up until my varsity days, when I basically just started. I then decided, you know what, I'm going to continue working at recess while I obviously continue with my pursuing my studies as well. I'm not sure.
And what was your childhood like? Yeah, let's touch a little bit on your childhood. Was it fairly, rainbows? Was there a little bit of a hardship?
To be fair, the hardship started at my mother's loss. Growing up, everything obviously seemed fine. The only thing I always tell people, I have the most boring childhood because I was locked indoors. Yeah. I was always like a nerd, reading a book, trying to write also because I kind of had a passion for creative writing as well. So I'd be at home trying to write my own magazine, with my mom's laptop. And I think those were the things that kind of like made me who I am, because I think most of the time when you're indoors, you're not exposed to a lot of things. Life started happening when I actually got to varsity, when I was actually exposed to, you can actually join certain societies. You can be a part of organizations where you get to express some of your interests more openly as well.
So throughout your childhood, you stayed at home. I mean, even including high school, you didn't go to boarding school or anything.
Not
So
even.
the real prison break was when you went to varsity.
Literally. And funny enough, the school was literally like a 5-minute walk. So you can imagine, even primary, I went to school. I think what kept me at least busy a bit was the fact that obviously I was a prefect. In primary, as a deputy head girl, you had a bit of work and responsibility as well. And I think I enjoyed, or I thrived in, taking the responsibility or assuming responsibility. Hence,
Leadership roles.
Leadership roles. Like even now, we're not going to be in a group project, and I don't know what's going on or what are we doing and things like that. I think it came naturally in that regard, and I think that's all. That's what it was.
That's great. So what made you decide to pursue law? Let's say towards the end of your high school career, when you were deciding, okay, I'm going to varsity. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm going to do. What was the driving force behind that?
I always tell people law chose me.
Okay.
Literally. My interests were journalism, like I said. I loved writing. I thought I'd go into journalism or something in media studies.
Surprise. You do a lot of writing.
Exactly. And I knew also I had a passion for advocacy. So it came naturally when I was picking my modules or like my courses, CAO applications. I literally remember the day even. I was with my aunt and my dad. We sat down in 11th grade, looked at my results. It wasn't even a question. He knew I was going to varsity because he understood it, staying a good child, So when I pinpointed the courses that I wanted to obviously be a part of, I think I put in journalism and media studies. And the thing about LLB, it wants you to put it as first choice everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? To my surprise, everything was regret, unsuccessful, waiting decision except law in all the universities that I had applied for, making me make the tough decision of, do I wait? Do I still go into journalism or do I just go into to my LLB? And that's when I made the decision to what, I love advocacy, so let's see what this is about.
So did you know fairly early in the journey that I'm just going to stay this course?
I think I knew early because I think within the first year, I met a lot of people that kind of gave me the idea that you don't just have to practice or be an attorney with your LLB. There's going to be other opportunities. And the great part about it is your LLB is going to open you to a lot more other avenues as well. So it made me feel a lot better about staying into the course as well within the first year.
And you also mentioned that you were part of some societies at campus. What kind of societies were those, and how did those help with your personal development at that stage?
My favorite to date was Year to Scholars. It's funny enough, I came across Year to Scholars, which was an NPO, or still is an NPO that assisted in career development for students from grade 10 all the way up until grade 12. Remember I mentioned that when I lost my mother, I had to navigate learning how to do things on my own. So I think it came naturally for me for wanting to assist other people as well that didn't have that, and especially kids that came from a disadvantaged background as well. So that was the first society I joined within my university, where we would travel, we would do charity drives as well. And I think I fell deeper in love with philanthropy work as well. So yeah.
I love that. And you mentioned that during campus, during your varsity years, you were also, you had DP's job. What did those do for you as a career woman today? Understanding that obviously it was in the retail industry, but what kind of foundations did juggling school and work at that early stage in your life teach you?
Firstly, it taught me discipline, most important, because if you have, and time management, if you have a lot of things on your plate, your academics have to also come first. It's not just money, I mean, it's great that you're able to provide yourself outside of your parents providing things for you. But it taught me early financial management and the discipline just when it comes to time management. Because now you can't just focus on you working over recess. There's also assignments that you need to look into. There's learning and studying. There's tests, there's exams, and all of that. There's one thing my dad made sure: you're working, yes, but you're a student before anything, So he literally drilled that aspect into my head as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was working in retail, you take it for granted that retail is one of those positions that need you to deal with a lot of customers from various backgrounds. And once you step into an industry such as the legal profession, you also deal with a lot of individuals from different backgrounds. Yeah. So it really taught you the art of persuasion, because you need to lock in that sale. I worked commission roles, so I was like, you need to buy this so that I can get my 5% or whatever. Taught me the art of persuasion and just to be a great communicator.
True.
Do you find that that's what happened with you as well?
Definitely. And I think
independence.
Independence, most importantly. I think I learned when I was consulting a lot with clients, it also teaches you just a bit of empathy, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with human, real life issues as well. So you have to, as much as you have to be an attorney about everything, but you also have to show a bit of empathy, because people are coming in with actual real problems when they approach you, you know. So it kind of taught me that as well, and just also dealing with the client that isn't so much a kind client. Yeah. It has you like force yourself to have that composure and just be calm and just remember why you're doing what you're doing during those moments, especially.
Sure. And how far along in your varsity career did you make the decision that you were going to pursue being an attorney instead of an advocate, or instead of an intern role as a graduate?
I think I learned in my third year, because I think I started late when it came to applying for my articles, firstly, which wasn't the greatest decision to make. But fortunately enough, I was able to, you know, to secure articles. But I knew within the third year that I actually wanted to get into practice. I always told myself I wanted to explore what law entailed before deciding that, am I keeping this in my books or am I going to pursue it even further? And if I loved it, what am I willing to do to just make my impact just as Nqobile, you know?
And then how was the transition from Durban, where you were mostly close to home, and then finally just moving to Joburg? And what informed the decision that you are ready to really just fly out of the nest and Jimmy goes to Joburg type?
The honest answer was I really wanted to see what the world had out there. If you've been sheltered a lot, you are curious on what's going on out there. And Nakhona, I just wanted to test everything that I told my dad, because I remember sitting him down and going, listen, you have to trust that you've raised me in a way that when I go out into the real world, I'm going to do great. I'm going to do you justice. Just put me in, coach. Let me go out there and
trust me. I love
just
that.
Trust me. And I think I just had to show him that within that first year. He struggled a bit, but as time goes by, he was like, no, you're okay.
You're doing well.
You're good.
And what were some of the teething problems you faced when you first moved to Joburg? I mean, outside of work and outside of how demanding articles is, what were some of the challenges where you were like, what am I doing here? Take me back to Durban. Now.
Renting, because the first thing I missed was my room and my bed. The first thing you get to Joburg now, you have to literally start from scratch. I need a place to stay. When you get there, you need a bed. You need a teaspoon,
iron,
you know.
kettle.
I should have taken it from home at this point. So at this point, I'm just thinking I should have just like put something in my suitcase. But I had to learn that with the finance of the little money that I had from articles, because I only moved up here when I got my articles. And, you know, back in the day, the salary wasn't always as great, but it was enough, you know, to try and make sure that I'm stable. I can actually get things bit by bit. And it made things a lot easier that I already had the financial discipline. You know, I knew this month, we need to get a pot. Following month, we need to make sure we have a blanket or something. So it kind of taught me in that regard as well.
I also feel like money was able to stretch a bit further back then. I mean, we weren't getting paid a lot, but looking back, my first salary as a candidate attorney was 5.8. And man, I think I did a lot with 5.8.
We're like the same.
Now I'm like, okay,
what was I doing?
Where do I start?
That's the scary part. I think that's the scary part.
And how was your articles experience? What were some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you end up in a conveyancing practice?
Do we even have the time? But so when I came into, or when I moved up to Joburg, I had initially got into a firm that did litigation and just a bit of conveyancing. I knew within the first 6 months, litigation is not for me right now.
It's good to also know what's not for you.
You understand? And I knew that, you know what, it wasn't my strongest point right now. And I was okay with figuring out what else was there. and I asked about conveyancing quite a lot. And I know it's not always good to make the comparison, but conveyancing felt a little calmer compared to litigation for me. And I told myself, you know what, I'm still young. Let me see if this
Explore.
let me explore. Because I also believe your article phase is where you get to actually put yourself out there without the pressure of you now being an associate. Now people are,
The buck doesn't stop with you.
You know,
you have leeway.
it's that serious now. So when I actually got a chance to work in that litigation department, and then I said I actually want to see what conveyancing is about. I resigned, started my articles from scratch. Joined a firm that actually only served in the conveyancing department. And then when I did, I fell more in love with it.
Okay.
Within the first 6 months, I was like, yeah, no, this is interesting. Up until you realize that at some point you're going to have to do the conveyancing exams, which I haven't done, but I really enjoyed. And my article experience with the ladies, I always say, I am so grateful. I had the greatest articles experience.
That's good. So you completed
down.
your articles at a conveyancing
At a
law firm.
conveyancing firm.
And you still haven't written the exam.
Sissy,
There's still time. We can push for September.
There's definitely time, but
if we start after recording this episode, we'll make it.
I could try paper one or something, yeah. But yeah, the experience for articles, I always say I was fortunate enough.
That's good.
Michelle DeCosta, I'll definitely always shout her out because
lovely.
she made my article experience something completely different from what I hear from my peers. The scary stories that you hear. Like something as simple as we'd listen to podcasts, funny enough, early in the morning from like 8:30 to like 9, just for us to ease into the day.
And be motivated.
And be motivated. She was very much motivated and she always poured into us as well. So naturally, we wanted to make sure that we made her proud, even just as that team, because we were literally just like a small unit of just women. And it was the greatest experience that I learned. It made me fall in love with conveyancing at that point.
I really love that. We're highlighting the good because we know that articles have a bad reputation, right? And it's up to people like you to just comfort people and let them know that it's not all bad. Yes, the bad stories exist here and there, but it doesn't have to be everyone's story, right?
True.
And I think it's so important that you had a good experience because it also helps you to pay it forward, you know, to be a boss that's cognitive and aware of your team's needs. Try to motivate them and really just try to build a strong team. So given that you had such a beautiful experience, what made you still decide, nope, I want to get fly out of this nest and do my own thing?
So with having done conveyancing, I felt like, you know what, conveyancing was all I knew, you know, and I wanted to also be an all-round attorney. So the journey persisted where I looked for law firms that either did litigation, commercial. I wanted to give it a chance. I didn't just want to accept my defeat,
fate and write it off.
And say, you know what, maybe I didn't give it a chance because another thing, I did my articles during the COVID phase. So it wasn't the greatest experience. But when I decided to take that leap, it was for me to broaden my experience as well. I didn't just want to be known for just property or conveyancing. And I have other interests outside of just your conveyancing or commercial litigation. I just wanted to put myself in that footing as well.
So basically, after your articles, you then went and you were an associate in other areas of practice.
Yes.
And how long did that last for?
So it's only been, I think, almost 2 years now with the firm that I currently am.
All right.
When I started, I remember I was a bit nervous because also when you're coming from conveyancing,
and used to that kind of chilled pace.
The chilled pace environment. I remember I first got there and the senior says, "Are you ready to hit the ground running?" Did I not have to hit the ground running when I joined?
Yeah.
So it was that. But I felt like I needed to put myself there. I hate running away from anything. I feel like, you know what, this gives me, you know, I love a good challenge. And I obviously do make peace with something when I realize, you know what, it's just not for me. But I always go down with at least knowing I gave it a good fight, you know, and I gave it a chance. Instead of just letting it go, Ganjalo.
And when was SNC born? Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do?
SNC was literally born last year around July, August.
What does it stand for?
It's literally my initials.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know, but it was my initials backwards because it's NSC, my actual initials, Nqobile. Sianda Cordelia, my parents were in their bag when they were naming me. But so I just thought, you know what, let me just call it SNC Creatives. I wanted a name that obviously just highlighted myself and what the whole purpose of that organization was or company was for me. So yeah, that's how the
And
name
what
came
is the
about.
purpose? What
So for
do you do
me,
there?
so it's basically personal branding. I assist people with personal branding. I also do CV revamps as well as I'm trying to branch into mentorship. A leg that I'm trying to create from SNC Creatives is SNC Legal. I'm passionate about mentorship, especially as CAs and students, LLB students as well, that usually struggle a lot on how to navigate, especially the legal fraternity. For me personally, my experience was great only when I served my articles where I had someone guiding or holding my hand,
supportive
showing me,
structure.
where to go, what to do, and things like that. When I had to step out, it was there now. You either have to find mentors yourself, you need to look for people, you actually need to reach out to people to assist you. So it's a platform that I'm trying to create to assist people like myself because I believe that I'd never got to experience that. So it's what I basically do.
Well, having, sort of benefited from Michelle's mentorship and you now wanting to branch into mentorship, what kind of things would you look for in a mentee, and what's your ideal mentee-mentor relationship? What does it look like?
For me, it would have to be someone who wants to learn, who is eager to learn. I always say you don't have to be someone who has it all together because at the end of the day, you being a mentee, you're obviously you have a vision of who you are and who you want to become. And if you feel like you're not there yet, the enthusiasm that you show towards working towards becoming that person is what's going to get you there. So someone who definitely has the motivation, the discipline as well, and understanding that things take time and no job is too beneath you also.
Yeah.
I've learned that you can't take for granted any position that you've been in, no matter how small you may deem it to be. Everything is a lesson. So yeah, I think for me, mentees or people that are like that are willing to grow, are the people that I definitely want to assist.
Definitely every piece of the puzzle is important. And also a word that you've mentioned quite a lot is discipline. I see it now coming through who your parents were. They put you in line.
The tie threw it off. The tie gave it away,
No,
didn't it?
definitely. I see the discipline. I see you being prefect. I see you being deputy head girl. Like you are consistent. What are some of the challenges that you experience? Maybe not even personally, but what are some of the things that you'd like to see in the legal profession? Whether it's recruitment procedures, retention procedures, transformation. What do you think as well as women in the legal profession? What can we do to make it safer and better and more beneficial to the young people who are coming behind us?
I think for me, firstly, it would be people being open about their experiences.
Yeah.
That for me was one of the reasons why when I sat into something that I didn't like, I would speak to someone and they would say, you know what, if this is how it's going, it's usually not the way it goes. So it's okay for you to go to a different route or take a different option. I love when people share if they've had, those treacherous experiences for
Yeah.
people, because most of the time we kind of shelter the experience out of fear of being ostracized or just,
Or we think we're alone.
we
We're the
think
only
we're
one going
alone,
through it.
only to find that there's so many young women out there that are experiencing the exact same thing that you do. And I think what I love about that, I've met women that have said, I've left an environment where it wasn't conducive, it wasn't nice, and I've actually started my own thing now, and I'm thriving in that as well. I love the openness and the willingness for women. It's not always the case, but sometimes it's just lip service when women speak of women empowerment.
Yeah,
We're there for
absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
We're gonna guide you, and
it's
then
not
you
always
start.
like that, right?
You understand? And then the sad part is when you start now trying to reach out, it's not always the case as well. And I really would love for women to unite and understand that we're all we've got, if we're being honest.
That's so true.
The reality of it is that you get into a working environment, and if you see one or two women, you need to fight to see 10 more women in there, So it would be that for me, definitely.
And what are some of your career highlights? Like one or two moments that stand out to you where you looked in the mirror and you were like, Nqobile, you are the girl you think you are. Can you even paint out that day for us? What was going on?
I feel like I'm still too young in the profession. I feel like I have not experienced as much. But if I had to pick one, maybe was when I joined the firm that I'm at right now, and it had to test my legal writing skills like in depth as well. And I think I remember drafting that legal opinion and sending it to my senior, and she doesn't respond. So in my head, I'm thinking,
You're like, what have you
they're
done?
probably thinking she should have stayed in conveyancing at this point, because I'm just like, okay, what happens now? She calls me, I think a day later, and she says, I'm headed to go pitch. Just run me through your legal opinion. And I literally take it through it, and I'm like, is it fine? What do you mean? And she's like, no, it's perfect. Actually, I'm going to go pitch now to the clients. And I think it's one of my highlights because it was a big client that we had. Obviously can't speak about it, but it was very public. And to have been a part of that, for me, I think that was my one highlight, because I honestly always believe that I'm still young in the profession. There's still years for me to go. And
That's brilliant,
you know,
though. That is so affirming, if I can put it
it was
that way.
very affirming. And also you can imagine having just jumped from just conveyancing into commercial litigation. For me,
legal
it was
opinions for
legal
big
opinions
clients.
of big clients. I'm still like, okay, what is the structure of a legal opinion again? I need to research, I need to speak to my colleagues. Nakona, you're trying to not seem like you don't know anything. But yeah, I think that was a pat in the back to tell me it's okay. You're learning. Keep at it. It's going to be like this more.
Well, your writing skills clearly came through for you. So you see,
did.
being locked up in your primary school years and
They
writing
did.
and attempting to
Yeah.
to put together your own
A
magazine. You
yeah.
see, it came through for you in the end. So nothing is for nothing.
Yeah.
But on the issue of you saying reaching out to colleagues, how welcoming are people and how willing to help are people in the profession? Have you had a fairly good experience with your colleagues, reaching out, to like friends in the industry, and other colleagues?
Yeah.
How has your experience been?
Fortunately for me, it's been good. It really has been good. I think I've learned to be humble when you also approach someone. It's also their time. I always say you can't feel entitled to them also, fully agreeing. And they have that decision to say, no, I actually don't have the capacity to assist you right now. But most of the women that I've reached out to have been so great. They're open to teaching you as well, and without making you feel like you don't know anything. That's another one that I always feel like, okay, if I go to a mentor and tell them, can you please assist me with this now? Is it going to be an issue of, what are you doing? Why are you here?
So you sort of have to get your ducks in a row
You
first
have
before
to.
approaching someone for help.
And the mentor-mentee relationship works like that, because you can't approach someone and not know what you require from them. I always say you as the mentee drive that relationship, because at the end of the day, if I approach you and I say, can you please assist me with conveyancing? What exactly do you need? What are you trying to achieve? Oh, I'm actually trying to learn more about transfers or property transfers. Or even something as simple as, I'm trying to work on my networking skills. I feel like I'm a bit timid. I want to learn how to put myself out there and actually, engage with other colleagues, because most of the time networking also comes into play, and you have to be able to at least engage with your peers.
Yeah, that's so important. I really always emphasize the importance of networking. It's impossible to exist as an island in this
At
profession.
all.
You cannot do it all. And networking always opens you up to the possibility of clients as well.
Yes.
Because we're not all going to be doing mining law or family law or whatever. So it's always good that somebody knows, okay, this is Nqobile, this is what she does. If I'm not able to do this, I can then always just pass
Send
it
it
to
over.
her.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's definitely been one of the reasons why I always encourage with the mentees. I started late. Obviously, I was focused on school, work, and just as long as I'm done, I pass my exams and that's it. Maybe one or two societies, but I forgot the part of actually creating relationships with these people. Because 9 out of 10 times, the people that you were studying in school with or your peers, you meet them in court. You're like, hey, or they know someone that can assist you with a certain matter that you struggle with. And if you haven't built a relationship with them, it's going to be slightly harder for you to reach out. It's going to be lonely. It's going to be lonely.
Sure. So what do the next few months to the next 2 years look like for you?
For now, I'm in school, so I'm doing my master's.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, so no conveyancing exam for you.
Not even.
I'll
That's why
remind you next year.
I definitely tell people that I feel like whatever plan God has for me, it goes completely left from what I envisioned for myself, but it's never bad.
So you're doing your master's
I'm doing
now?
my master's in human rights law.
And how's
at
that
UG.
going?
I'm enjoying it. I love it so much. I got my first test and I was like, I did good. That's
I'm
good.
doing good.
You know,
I love that.
and the research part of it, I really enjoy research. Just when you have to read a lot, it gets to you sometimes, but having to balance it with work as well does take its toll, but it's doable. It's definitely
And where
doable.
do you hope that an LLM in human rights will take you? What's the end goal?
So my end goal, I want to start off my NPO called the Yenkosi Foundation. I'm very passionate about assisting or empowering young women and children living and born with HIV. So it's something I definitely want to use. I know I've been wanting to work for the UNAID for the longest time. I'm hoping that it's going to be a venture that will eventually get to that. Yeah.
So would you say you need the master's degree to start the NPO, or you can start
Not
building
really.
now?
Not really. I'm definitely building now as well because I do work with quite a lot of NPOs, especially through my SNC Creatives. And I still keep in contact with the NPOs that I worked with previously as well. So I'm definitely learning, and because I don't want to just like jump into it. And already I feel like I kind of have a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
So adding it onto it right now, I don't think would be the greatest, at least for me, at least not right now. But maybe in the next year or two, then I think I'd be ready for that jump. Yeah.
I think while we're on the topic of NPOs, earlier you mentioned how having a law degree also opens up a lot of opportunities. And a lot of the time, when we think about pursuing law, we actually don't, or when we think about looking for jobs, we don't consider getting roles in NPOs. So, what kind of contributions do you think someone with a legal background can have that can be meaningful to NPOs? Because even if the NPO doesn't necessarily have someone legal, if I'm looking for a job and maybe it's a well-established NPO or they've just started up, what kind of contribution as someone with a legal background can I make to that kind of NPO?
Okay. So the first thing I always say is with your LLB, there's so many doors that you can fit yourself in because everything requires law in this day and
Yeah.
age, right?
Yeah.
And everything is technical. If it's not CIPC, it's, somewhere a contract is going to come along the way. And usually with NPOs, funding is usually sometimes an issue. So they're always looking for someone to assist in the legal department or someone who's in-house to assist with research and the cases that come through as well. But most importantly, it's research. It's research. There's a lady that I was assisting, and she works for an NGO in Zimbabwe, and she has her master's as well in human rights law. And at the moment, there was a case where she was dealing with that was about young children or young girls that were being married off, and for her to have been a part of such a huge change where that order or that court order was granted, it was really admirable for me, and it just reminded me or reaffirmed me that, you know what, I'm actually in the right space and I can use my LLB to assist, especially in the space that I'm interested
for
to
women's
advocate
rights,
for women and children's rights, most importantly.
I love that. And as we wrap up our conversation, thank you actually for sharing your story so beautifully with us. But as we wrap up, is there something that I haven't asked you that you think it's important to use this platform to share? It can really be anything from the legal profession to any personal branding or personal development tips that you can give to any listener, not necessarily young, but anybody who's listening.
I think one that stood out for me this week, like I said, there was a lady that posted on LinkedIn, and she shared her experience with one of a big firm, and it wasn't the greatest experience. And I went to the comments, and the amount of people that kept saying "me too" or "I relate" was quite scary, And oftentimes we're basically scared, or we fear the fact that, you know what, I'm going to be blackballed into, okay, this lady speaks a lot about human rights, she's going to be problematic in our firm. You understand? Be scared of that. But the reality is, if we want to see that change, we will have to be the advocates first. We have to put ourselves out there. We have to share our experiences as well. And it's such a great way for us to create that unity as well. Because at the end of the day, if we don't share that experience, you don't understand how much you're helping the next person that looks at you and sees that law is either glamorous or we look good every day or we in heels every day.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. There's going to be days where you're not going to feel your greatest. There's going to be days where you're going to be belittled or people are not going to see your worth the way you see yourself. And within that same breath, I'll always say, have a great sense of self. Know who you are, have a great self-awareness, and understand that whatever people perceive of you, it's up to them. The main goal is how do you see yourself and how do you want to project to people?
Sure.
You know?
All right. Thank you so much. So, in closing, if you could give me 3 words of what make a great attorney or legal professional, what would those 3 words be? I know discipline is at the top of your list.
Time management is right there at the top.
Which goes hand in hand with
Hand
discipline.
in hand with discipline, organizational skills as well. And the third one that I don't think people speak of a lot, network.
Yeah.
Network. You know how people say your network is your network, your net worth? It's also how you think. The people you surround yourself with change your perspective quite often.
Yo,
You
that is
understand?
so
You
true.
don't want to be stuck. For someone who was locked up at home,
Locked
obviously, literally, it is what it is. For someone who was locked up at home, obviously, I had one way of thinking, but you go out into the world, you meet people that show you that there's opportunities out there. Your brain is powerful. Use it or utilize it to the best of your capability as well. So I think those are the 3 things for me.
I think that's exactly where we can end things for now as you drop the mic. Thank you so much. Like I said at the beginning, for honoring the invitation. It was a pleasure having you. Pleasure meeting you. I always like meeting the online people in real life. It's always better in real life. Like,
Is it?
Y'all are amazing.
I'm just
Keep
I'm
up
a
the good
yapper.
work.
I always worry because people assume I talk too much, and I'm just like, I just need like 2 seconds to get used to you. Then we will be yapping
No,
afterwards.
talk too much is good. It's a podcast. We are here to talk. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I really hope that somebody has been inspired by your story. I wish you the best with SNC Creatives.
Thank you so
and
much.
in your newish, can I say, new journey, as you navigate the commercial landscape, I know you're going to become a success of yourself.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you for the invite as well.
Wonderful. You at home, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you heeded to the call at the beginning of the episode when I said subscribe. Don't forget to share this episode with all your loved ones. And if you are in Johannesburg or even in South Africa and you're interested in the upcoming I Am Lady Justice workshop, now is the time to purchase your tickets on www.sisterinlaw.co.za, $9.50 per person. And these early bird tickets will run until the end of April. And at the workshop, we'll be discussing topics pertaining to marriage contracts, divorce proceedings, child maintenance, estate planning, sexual harassment at the workplace. It's going to be a very informative session, and I hope to see you there. Until the next episode, bye.